Court dismisses James Jachikwesin's application for stay of proceedings.
Disappointed. We are dissatisfied. We intend to repeat the application at the Court of Appeal.
But if you want to deploy delay tactics, there is a point that you can go. You may want to appeal, which will not begrudge you, but your filing of a process at the Court of Appeal will not stay the proceedings in the High Court.
Government delegation meets Yana amidst escalating ethnic tension in parts of the northern region in a bid to find a lasting solution.
You are saying that you can talk, but if you have an advice, channel it through the proper sources, let it go to the leaders and let them solve the matter for us.
Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park reopens for commercial business as adults can now access the facility for 25 Ghana cedis.
We have new facilities in the park, and we are all saying we need to maintain it. We need money to maintain it. So if we don't put these measures in place, then it will be very difficult for us to maintain.
And later on CNR Extra, environmental health officers conduct fumigation at Emina Cemetery amid protest against developers' action.
Because if we want to say we can spray all the houses, we cannot.
Once again, you're welcome to CNR Extra, which is live on CCTV. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comment via WhatsApp line 0204447033. We are also streaming live on YouTube, on CityTube. Ni Lati, you're welcome to the show. How are you doing, my brother?
How are you?
I'm doing great. So let's bring you the very first story and take you to the court, where the court has dismissed James Jachikwesin's application of stay of proceedings.
Parliament for Sin North, James Jachikwesin's application for a stay of proceedings has been dismissed by the court. However, lead counsel Chachu Chikata has announced the intention to file an application with the Court of Appeal seeking a stay of proceedings. We have more on this report.
The High Court in Accra on Tuesday rejected arguments raised by lawyers of James Jachikwesin in support of the application for stay of proceedings. The lawyers filed a motion pending the determination of an appeal against the decision of the court to try the matter on day-to-day basis. Led by Chachu Chikata, lawyers for the accused argued that the trial judge erred when she made the ruling. According to them, the decision is in violation of Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution, which limits the exercise of discretionary powers. He further argued that Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame and President Akufo-Addo had made extremely prejudicial comments that may affect the fair adjudication of the matter. The lawyers also argued that any decision by the trial judge not to stay proceedings until the final determination of the matter at the Court of Appeal will be prejudging the appeal and a breach of their client's rights to fair trial. Mr. Chikata was insistent on how this was a breach on fair trial rules and argued that the grounds warranted exceptional circumstances to merit the granting of the application for stay of proceedings. The state, however, opposed the application on grounds that the decision being appealed was for the daily trial to take place from June 20 to June 23, and considering the fact that the application was filed on June 27, the process was unnecessary. Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame also debunked allegations of prejudicial statements made by himself and the president. The judge, after considering the arguments, however, dismissed the application. The trial judge indicated that granting of stay of proceedings applications is purely a discretionary matter. According to the judge, the court may be convinced to grant such an application if the applicant is able to show exceptional circumstances to warrant the grant of the application. The judge, however, ruled that the case does not present any exceptional circumstances to grant the application for stay of proceedings. She stated that there is no irreparable damage to be suffered by Jachikwesin by the refusal of the application. Based on these, the application was dismissed. Lawyer for James Gyakye, however, in court, hinted of plans to go to the Court of Appeal to stay proceedings. Gyakye Chikata therefore requested for a favorable adjournment to allow them further relevant processes. As a result of this, the court adjourned the case to July 14 for trial to continue. The proceedings were witnessed by some minority members of parliament who boycotted activities of the House in solidarity with their colleague. The NDC's head of legal affairs, Abraham Amaliba, addressed the media after proceedings.
The judge gave the ruling but refused our application. The judge said that there was no special circumstances warranting her to stay the proceedings. We are disappointed. We are dissatisfied. We intend to repeat the application at the Court of Appeal, where we expect a favorable result. As a result of that, we ask the court to enable us file the appeal at the Court of Appeal, the stay of proceeding at the Court of Appeal. That was granted, and so we are back to this court on Friday for the continuation. But what is important is that we are repeating the application at the Court of Appeal because we are dissatisfied.
Meanwhile, the state, which is impugning some foul play by lawyers of the accused, say they are ready for any tactics to be deployed. Alfred Chianyeboa is Deputy Attorney General.
If you are in court and the matter is being heard in court, it is expected that the matter should be heard. But if you want to deploy delay tactics, there is a point that you can go. You may want to appeal, which will not begrudge you, but your filing of a process at the Court of Appeal will not stay the proceedings in the High Court. So we are also now saying that on Friday, the matter is going to continue unless something happens.
Is your first witness ready?
Our first witness has been in court. He's been cross-examined for over 1.5 hours. They have about 30 minutes or so to finish the cross-examination of our first witness. On Friday, when we come, he's going to testify. He's going to be in the box for them to finish up the cross-examination if it's within the remit of the court on Friday.
It appears this will not be the last we'll be hearing of this application to stay proceedings, as lawyer for James Gyakye has given indication of applying to the Court of Appeal for a stay of proceedings. Meanwhile, prosecution is saying that regardless of any of these applications, they will continue with the prosecution. Reporting for City News, Hansen Acheman.
So that's what happened in court yesterday. The judge, the court was presided by Justice Mary Mami Kuya Yamzu, and she said that no exceptional circumstance had been proven by Kweson's lawyers to warrant the grant of stay of proceedings. It went on to say that is from what we are reading here. The judge went on to say that I'm unable to agree with the submission that the appeal had a brighter chance of success because of the error of the law. The fact that the applicant believes that his appeal will be successful or succeed does not by itself warrant a special circumstance for stay to be granted. The court emphasized that its decision to hear the case on day-to-day basis will still be in force. Also, the lead counsel for Gyakye made mention of the fact that Gyakye has some things to do, that is today, which is July 12th. So the court now went ahead, that is led by the judge, went ahead to adjourn the case to July 14. That is Friday.
That's Friday.
Yes, this is where we find ourselves with
so essentially,
the Gyakye case.
The judge is actually making a point that, well, the stay of proceedings is actually discretionary, and given this particular subject matter we are talking about, she does not find it reasonable because there is no irreparable damage if the stay of proceedings is actually not adhered or even approved. And so this is where the NDC as a party finds itself as far as this particular issue is concerned. Well, we know that, well, the party is actually filing this stay of proceedings to ensure that the Court of Appeal actually gives its ruling or judgment as to that particular motion they filed, that the court should vary its decision to hear this particular case on a daily basis. So I can understand the disappointment of the NDC as a party. This was not what they expected, given the kind of support they are giving James Gyakye Quayson as far as this issue is concerned. Well, but the prosecution of the state is actually very much convinced that, well, this is the best decision the court has actually taken. And so if you look at the reasons cited by the judge, they are agreeing with the ruling that the judge made yesterday. And so it leaves us to the point where the court will actually resume sitting again on Friday. For you heard, the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Tuah-Yeboah, actually saying that their first witness has actually been cross-examined for some 1 hour, 30 minutes. And so when the case is called on Friday, they will have a proper interpretation of this. But like I've said, my only concern, Philip, is the fact that the minority members have actually been boycotting Parliament.
We'll go to that, and we'll bring you a story on that particular issue where the minority, as the case was happening in court, the minority boycotted Parliament. Let's bring you that insight.
Minority in Parliament asked for the second time boycotted sit-ins in Parliament due to the trial of the Asin North Member of Parliament, James Gyakye Quayson. The High Court on Tuesday delivered a ruling on the application for stay of proceedings in the case involving the legislator. Now, lawyers for the embattled MP have moved an application for the court to stay proceedings to allow for the Court of Appeal to hear its appeal to review a decision by the trial judge to hear the case on daily basis. Now, due to this, the minority caucus abandoned parliamentary proceedings to accompany its member to the court. The following report has more.
The minority in Parliament on Tuesday boycotted for the second time parliamentary business to accompany one of its members, the Asin North MP, James Gyakye Quayson, who is facing trial at the court. This was left with less than 10 of the majority MPs in the chamber. The second Deputy Speaker, Andrew Amoakwesiama, had to suspend sitting for 15 minutes to allow more of the majority MPs to come into the chamber for business to continue. Speaking to journalists, the Member of Parliament for Kankwei Central, Patrick Yawbuama, appealed to the minority to reconsider their decision.
You all know the contribution of the minority when it comes to the business on the floor. It's a very important caucus in our parliamentary business. So any decision by the minority not to participate actively in the business of the House would definitely affect proceedings. It's a very unfortunate situation that we are going through, but the minority is exercising their rights under the laws to go and solidarize with our colleague, Honorable Quayson, who was sworn in a week ago. I want to entreat the minority to reconsider their decision, because Honorable Quayson is duly represented by very experienced lawyers who can fight his case for him. It's very important that we also get measured with what we do with regards to our responsibilities as members of Parliament, and as duty demands of us, we ought to be in the chamber to represent the people who voted for us. Yes, you can show solidarity, but you should not forget about your responsibility as a member of Parliament.
Before they knew that as MPs, they have a mandate here. But if you consider the fact that the hearing dates sometimes conflict with parliamentary business, you'd want to ask the question, were they not mindful of the fact that the people they were charging are members of Parliament? Or at least, did they not find it necessary to at least stagger the court hearings so that the hearings would not conflict with parliamentary business? Did they not think about that? And so if my good friend, Honorable Patrick Boama, comes out to say we should nominate just a few of us to accompany our colleagues to the courts and allow the rest of us to stay here and do business. I think that statement marks of double standards, because they are the ones, it is his government which has brought all this about. And so we're saying that we would stand solidly behind our colleagues. We shall solidarize with them anytime they are going to court. They should make space for us, or at least stagger the hearing times so that court hearings do not interfere with parliamentary business. But if you think that our presence here is not necessary, you can fix court dates to conflict with parliamentary business, we would all go there and support our colleagues. It's as simple as that.
In an interaction with journalists, the Minister of Interior, Ambrose Derry, denied rumors in a leaked tape which suggests that government aims at removing from office the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, as part of plans to rig the upcoming general elections.
Now, I think that we've come a long way, haven't we? At a certain stage, people were thinking that, oh, we couldn't trust the police. But now you see, you feel the presence of police. And I think the last election that came, at least our friends on the other side said they have confidence in the police and have confidence in the EC. I think we're making progress, are we not? And so that's how I see it. Yeah. But as far as the IGP is concerned, he's for operational matters, and I haven't found anything that he's done that has contradicted that. I can assure you that I serve a president who is committed and has respect for human rights. And Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, we will make sure 2024 is peaceful. And for those theories about, we can imagine things. We have rich imaginations to go on. One thing is certain: 2024 would not be a violent election by anybody, and no one will want to thwart the will of the people. If you vote us in, you vote us in. If you vote outside, you vote us out. And we've shown that before. The difference with which we handed over power in 2009 was so impressive that the then president of the U.S. came here.
However, the ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, James Agaga, says government must thoroughly investigate the leaked tape.
If it is indeed true that it is a DCOP or whatever, I don't know what his rank is, Alex Mensah is the one behind, or who actually spoke to some of his people, and this thing has now leaked, I think it needs to be investigated and dealt with in accordance with law, because there are machinations aimed at what? Subverting the will of the people. Until now, I have never known that we have NDC IGPs, MPP IGPs. I've never known that. And if it is the authenticity of that audio is established, then he must be charged. His actions, the actions of the one behind that audio, for me, passes for treason.
The House also debated on the Narcotics Control Commission Amendments Act, which seeks to allow for the cultivation of cannabis for industrial and medicinal purposes.
The new policy of the narcotics: 1, the value as medicinal; 2, the value as industrial, which is going to provide, the second reading I'll show, employment; and the value as economic, which is the trend of the world at this stage. Ghana is not left out with this. Ghana is not left out with this. To have the medicinal value of it, will not miss to have the industrial value of it, and will not miss to have the economic value of it. Accordingly, it is an urgent matter that needs to be dealt with. Whereas for the regular cannabis that people use for recreational purposes, what we refer to as weed, the THC content in the product in Ghana, that is the dry weight, the content on a dry weight basis,
is above 2%. I'm told that in the Bono area and portions of the Volta region, the content could go as high as 3% THC. And that certainly cannot be the subject matter here. People assume that what we have done opens the sluice gate for the cultivation of the regular cannabis. It has nothing to do with that. It is really to encourage the cultivation of jute. Of course, for medicinal purposes, some cannabis could be grown. But in that case, you require the certificate or license by the minister to be able to do that. Mr. Speaker, when we come there, we all do appreciate that strictures and strict procedures and structures will have to be put in place to guide and guard the cultivation of those medicinal cannabis.
Reporting from Parliament, my name is Ni Ayukwe Okain, for City News.
So a lot of issues were raised in that particular report, but what stand out we are talking about is the minority boycotting parliamentary activities or duties when they are supposed to escort or go to court with their member, and that is James.
Show solidarity.
Exactly, James Jachikwesin. But the majority leader has stated that he's going to have some engagement to see how they will address this issue. Also, the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, ASEPA, has also come out to say that this is going to affect parliamentary activities and also affect the country as a whole going forward.
I mean, at this particular juncture, you would expect that dialogue is what will be brought to the table to resolve this particular impasse, if you like, because the fear here is that major decisions could actually be taken in Parliament by the majority.
But then again, I don't think that will happen because they need to form quorum.
No, but it depends on the issue, whether it's by voice votes or, head count. It depends. Just take your mind back to when the minority actually said that they had rejected the 2023 budget. The majority came in and then they reversed it. It was the same 138 numbers that they used in that particular reversal. So depending on the nature of the issue, they can take some major decisions in Parliament, which will not require, the two-thirds majority in Parliament. So it depends on what the issue is on the table. And for me, like I was telling you last week, I do not think all members of Parliament will actually be boycotting Parliament to, show solidarity.
The minority side, the leader for the minority side stated categorically that if this is what is going to happen, anytime we would get James Jachikwesin in court, or he's supposed to be appearing in court, we definitely will go there, as you said, in solidarity.
No, if two elephants are fighting, it is the grass that suffers. So I mean, we the citizens, because we don't know what decision will be taken in Parliament, and for this particular issue, the way you are looking at it and how it's traveling, I do not think this is the kind of, re-strategize and look at other alternatives or options available to them other than just abandoning their core duty as parliamentarians to, so look at the numbers you have in Parliament. If they were, it wasn't this hang, we would have said that, well, it's much ado about nothing, but look at the numbers you are having. So, I mean, it does not augur well for our democracy, it does not augur well for, our parliamentary business. They can show solidarity, but not in this current form and shape. Well, they should just find another way of, looking at how best they can show support to James Jachikwesin and other members of the caucus who are actually facing some form of trial and order, because the warning signs are glaring. Caution has been made, and they keep insisting for how long are they going. So for example, if the case is to be heard on a daily basis, are they going to abandon the duty every now and then?
Which now the stay of proceedings have not been granted. It hasn't been granted, so definitely.
And I wonder if all 137 actually go to court. I do not think so. I do not think all 137 always present themselves in court. So I'm just pleading, or we are just asking the minority caucus to, put, quote unquote, a human face to, parliamentary business.
Well, there's going to be an engagement. That is what the majority side said.
That is actually one thing that I'm looking for.
At least if the engagement is done, we would certainly know what
at the leadership
comes
level,
out of it. Because, rightly so, because ASAPA has also called that at least some sort of engagement must be done to ensure that they get to this final conclusion of this issue. You're still watching CNR Extra here on CCTV, still to come. Government delegation meets Yana amid escalating ethnic tension in parts of the northern region in a bid to find a lasting solution. Kindly stay with us. We're back with more stories.
Yes, we are back. Wines of South Africa, Rossa, is back in Ghana for the biggest wine show ever. Date, Saturday 15th July at the Labadi Beach Hotel, Accra. Time, 7 p.m. sharp. Wines of South Africa Grand Tasting Event 2023 is proudly brought to you by Wines of South Africa and John Williams Consults Ghana. This event is sponsored by Ghana Export Promotion Authority and Best National Bank. Partners, South African High Commission, Accra, South African Airways, and Labadi Beach Hotel. Media partners, AmayalDebra.com, CTFM, CTTV, Voyage Afrique Magazine, and Ovation Magazine. Don't miss out on this extraordinary event by securing your tickets now at bossa2023.eventbrite.com or call 0553-271-032. Remember to come celebrate with Wines of South Africa, Saturday, 15th July 2023, 7 p.m. at Labadi Beach Hotel, Accra. Wines of South Africa, welcome to our world of discovery. Strictly by invitation and reserved for 18 years and above.
You're welcome back. Let's bring you some more stories. And government delegation meets Yana amid escalating ethnic tension in parts of the northern region in a bid to find a lasting solution to the problem.
Following recent comments and threats that have escalated tensions between some tribes in the northern region and beyond, a government delegation led by the National Security Minister has visited the overlord of Dagbon, Yana, to assure him and discuss strategies to prevent any potential conflict. Now, on Sunday evening, reports emerged of residents of Sonson in the Yendi municipality abandoning the community out of fear of an attack. Tensions are currently running high. Any unfortunate incidents. Here's a report by our Northern Regional Correspondent, Mohammed Aminu M. Alabira.
For nearly 2 months now, rumors of a tribal war between the Dagombes and Konkombe tribes have circulated in the northern region. Various statements have been released on social media by unknown individuals fueling the tension. The most recent statement that heightened the situation came from someone claiming to be the Konkomba Basari chief in Tema, Greater Accra region. This time of the year is crucial for farming, and everyone in the northern region is actively engaged in agricultural activities. However, this week, both Dagombes and Konkombes are worried about the escalating comments. Even teachers working in communities are afraid and have stayed away from work. To address this issue, a government delegation led by the National Security Minister, Honorable Kandapa, paid a courtesy visit to the overlord of Dagbon at the Bewa Palace in Yendi. The purpose of the visit was to assure the overlord of the government commitment to maintaining a peaceful environment in the area. The overlord of Dagbon remains optimistic that the long-standing peaceful coexistence between the two tribes will prevail to prevent any mishaps. He emphasized that poverty is the common enemy that must be fought. Here is Zangbalong Lana Dr. Yakubu reading the speech on behalf of the overlord. Yana urged the minister to take swift action against the individuals spreading discord on social media.
Those who hail from and the CNR hate speech to renege on our promises.
The Defense Minister, Honorable Dominic Nituol, assured the Yana of government determination to deal with anyone seeking to instigate troubles. He reiterated the Konkomba Dagomba tribes have a long history of peaceful coexistence and emphasized that no member of either tribe is willing to engage in conflicts.
Please help us. If you help us, and I said at the Konkombaya convention, and that's why people were insulting me. I said the gentleman called John Jagri is the greatest enemy to Konkombas. I said it there. That's the statement I made. I don't know whether he was there or not. At him. I want to beg anybody, whether you are a Konkomba, if you know that John Jagri man, I beg you. I'm kneeling down begging you. Please, help us and let's identify and arrest those people. Diana, I want to again assure you, and you yourself said it, that Konkombas and the Bombers will not fight today and will not fight tomorrow.
In his remarks, the National Security Minister, Honorable Kandapa, called for a dialogue between the two tribes. He emphasized that through dialogue, all differences can be addressed and resolved.
That one thing that we have done, and which, as a government, we are very proud of, is the peace that we have found in Dagbon. Thanks to the people of Dagbon, who agreed that all differences would be settled, and we were given this side position. We've always been very, very proud of your achievements, and indeed when we go out to other places to speak, when there are ethnic conflicts in other places, we mention you, and we mention Dagomba, and ask them to learn from what you have done. We tell them that war, fighting with your hands, with your legs, will never solve the problem. The problem can only be solved if we sit down and talk.
So let's peace reign, and that is what the various authorities led by the National Security Minister is urging within that particular community. I think this is laudable.
Exactly so, Philip, because if you look at some of these things, the issue of, chieftaincy disputes in the northern part of the country resulting in, one form of communal clash or the other, and usually it's because of either divisional chieftaincy, paramountcy, or even kinship, and the effects have been, actually been devastating, and it doesn't help anyone really if, people are clashing every now and then, because
the president has even spoken about how we would have to spend a lot of money into ensuring that chieftaincy issues or disputes
because
are
if you
resolved.
look at the wanton destruction to lives and properties, it actually retards socio-economic development, and in this particular instance, we've actually seen a number of interventions that have been rolled out. We've seen police or military interventions. We've seen committees of inquiries being set up and all that, but to little or no result. And so it's time for the residents there to know that, well, if these interventions have actually not worked, then the responsibility actually lies with us to ensure that we allow peace to prevail in this. And so for the government delegation to go there to drum home this particular, you could hear from the concerns of, the ministers in there.
So rightly so, we wish the authorities all the best and ensure that whatever they are doing to ensure that conflict or there is some sort of resolution to the matters there is done. Wish them all the best. Let's move away from this story. And environmental health officers, they have conducted fumigation exercise at Emina Cemetery amid protest against the developers' action. Let's bring you that insight.
Environmental health officers from the Forikro Municipal Assembly in the Ashanti region have carried out a fumigation exercise at the Emina Cemetery. This comes after some residents in the area over the weekend took to the streets in protest against the destruction of the community cemetery by a developer. City News' Ashanti regional correspondent Hafiz Tijani reports.
The intervention, according to authorities, was to allay fears after concerns of environmental and health impact emerged due to the exposure of bodies at the cemetery. A developer who owns a house adjacent to the cemetery reportedly graded the land to gain access to her property. Environmental health officers said the fumigation was done to prevent a possible outbreak of diseases in the area.
It's a burial ground and every person is buried here, and then people die of sicknesses. We don't know the type of sicknesses that have killed a lot of people that they have buried here. So to prevent escalation of maybe if there's any outbreak, that's why we have come to spray the place. So it's within the cemetery, because if we want to say we can spray all the houses, we cannot. So it's within the cemetery. Time to come, we'll come back again and then continue with the spraying again. We won't do it once. We'll come back again and spray. People are not even supposed to build at the cemetery. All the land they have built is the cemetery. But I don't know how they got the land and built here. They are not supposed to build there. So we advise that they shouldn't, when they are acquiring a land, they should ask further. They should question about the land they are buying, so that they will not go and buy a land that belongs to the cemetery.
Although some of the graves have been covered, residents want authorities to cover the rest of the open graves. Assembly member for the Bwedi, Emina Apiedu and Kokobin electoral area, Kenneth Owusu-Bediakun, assures the assembly will work to cover the graves.
First thing that needed to be done was the fumigation. Once it has been done, arrangement is being made by the assembly to get extra sand to ensure that graves, so that the security agencies takes up the matter and ensure that they should give peace a chance to reign within Emina, so that we can all live as one people.
Residents are appealing for interventions to resolve chieftaincy issues in the area.
There are so many developmental projects going on over here because there's no kin, there was no policy which will go in the betterment of Emina. You see, they are doing filling station over here. They just sold the land to that person just to come and do his work. But what are the policies? If you were having a kin, all these things wouldn't have happened.
Kruman, me catch up, say. Ubia and farm ranch and say na utu for na me board
is to ensure there's a lasting solution to this issue. Hafiz Tijani, City News, Emina, Ashanti region.
So yesterday, Hafiz Tijani told us that the Mensha Palace is on this particular issue. We are still waiting on the outcome of how it's going to be resolved, and also the issue with the fumigation, what has been done just to ensure that there is safety in the environment in that particular area after some of the graves were destroyed.
And I mean, we must commend, the health authorities for that swift intervention, trying to, fumigate the whole community,
very much
the cemetery, even as we find a solution to this particular evasion, if we want to put it that way, because of what you are having to see now. And for me yesterday, just like I was telling you,
the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park is one of Ghana's most significant monuments
The mausoleum was first established in 1990 to house the mortal remains of Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. For years, the mausoleum had not received a significant facelift befitting of the resting place of the man regarded as one of the greatest African leaders. It has been reopened to the public. Edward Kwao is the acting director.
So if we don't put these measures in place, then it will be very difficult for us to maintain. I think that if it's about time, we also invest in our site as well and promote it as Ghanaians. We want to see more Ghanaians coming here than foreigners. So we think that if we plan for it, we should go to visit this facility at this rate, yeah.
If you charge lower fees, more Ghanaians will be able to patronize.
I don't think it's too expensive for Ghanaians to come. They would come. Few people I've spoken to have called me. I'm cool with it.
This Ghanaian resident in Australia was excited that her children could experience a part of Ghana's political history through the park.
I was born here and I left 17 years. Now I'm just brought my children to see where their ancestors from and where I'm from. I am blown out. I think when I left, it wasn't like this. And to see it established and the way they have made it, Ghana is the key for the rest of the African country. And this is what is going to make it.
About the people who were important for the independence, and I hope I can learn a lot.
The Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park is now officially open to commercial business. The general public are invited to come and experience everything they've heard and read in books about Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, one of the leaders of the African struggle for independence. My name is Charles Osukumi. I've been reporting for City News.